Uh, Thank you everybody for joining again. It's been very heartening to see all of you taking time out and joining these webinars, and then we are very sure that this is helping all of you. One request, last time also I think at the end of the webinar I had shared with all of you is you know having taken out about an hour uh, on the webinar, we request you to spend an additional 2-3 minutes in sharing the feedback with us. It will go a long way in helping us to make these sessions better. So, yeah, over to you, Ramya.
Yeah. Thanks, Santosh. Hello, everyone. I hope you all are fine. So, welcome for today's webinar. Today's session is on the refresher training. So, as a refresher training, we have taken two modules, which is configure audit and review audit. So, these are the very key modules of Audit 360, which we felt it is important that we take you all through what the configure audit does and the review audit has as a feature, what all the features been available. So let us first talk about configure audit. What does a configure audit does? A configure audit module is the actually a very important module in Audit 360 where no, the audit types are created where the audit under the audit types not only connecting the checkpoints and creating as a checklist, but we are also setting up the several workflows, eliminating the workflow, the setting these specific base of the information, how a structure has to be an audit. All that configuration is handled in configure audit. So whenever you create an audit type, it is whatever basis, whatever the configuration the super admin role or the person who has access to the configure audit does, basis the configuration, the complete audit flow happens till the closure of the issue. So this has an module is very important where it can be done as a one-time configuration and can be edited as and when needed. But once this configuration is made, the further process of regular process of scheduling the audit, audit execution, finalization, or issue closures are an ongoing activity. So configuring an audit is a very important aspect in Audit 360. So let us see what all the configure audit covers and what are the each of these features represent and how does it function in our Audit 360 application. So let me take you all through for a demonstration on configure audit. I'm logging into the super admin role. So configure audit is just below the checkpoints because the updating the master and the checkpoints are the first step to get integrated with Audit 360. Once the checkpoints all are created, then we go into configure audit. So let me start creating a configure audit and explain you each and every section. How does it work? So first page which appears in audit type is giving a name to the audit type. So whenever you are creating an audit type, we should always keep a structure ready. So what should a audit type have? How does the audit should appear? How a audit once been executed should flow to a auditor. Once the auditor submits, to whom it has to be sent, whether it has to go auditee or it has to not to go to an auditee for sign off. And once there is an issue closure, who will close the issue? What should be a TAT? All that structure has to be thought before we create the audit type. So when you're creating an audit type, we usually create a parent audit. Through a parent audit, we can directly create through the general group, a direct parent audit can be created. But in certain cases, when we have combination of general and annexure, and where you would want to keep the or even though that's a general, a separate segregation as a sub audits, in those cases, there's a slight modification which you have to do from the parent audit creation. There's a one additional step which you may have to do. So first, let me show how a sub audit is created and then a parent audit and the further feature I would take you all through. So let me create a sub audit I give a name only as a sub-audit and choose which auditee type. So auditee type here presents the, whenever we upload an auditee, we always tag what is an auditee type it is, because when we are doing any audit, there are chances where we can be doing different set of audits to a different set of auditees as well. So to have a recognition between the different set of auditees, we always tag the auditee type. So for example, in the live scenario which I am showing, so as a client, I would be doing audits of all my branches. So I tag all those auditees as branch. I also would be doing audits to my vendors who are part of our organization working for us, but I would like to do a specific cycle of audits. In those cases, I will always choose them, tag them as vendor. So like that, you can choose as per your requirement. There would be a different type of auditees you would be doing the audit. That way, whatever is being tagged for an auditee will be reflected here. So for here, I just choose the branch. Then I go next. So when I'm creating a sub audit, I will not choose any parent audit. I will always keep the selection in the group audit. If I would want to create a sub audit using an annexure, I choose annexure. If I would want to choose a sub audit using a general group, I choose a general group. Once I choose a general group, all the general group created in the checkpoint module will be listed below. So I can choose whichever module. In case of general group, I can have multiple groups added to one sub-audit, but in annexure, a single annexure group only can be added, because for a specific reason, the annexure has been built in such a way, because it has a reference data, it has its own samples or a PI which gets come inside as a sub-audit is to be audited. So sub-audit can have only one annexure group, but whereas in general, we can have multiple groups here. So let me choose one more group and I can just create on submit. So whenever you have not enabled the parent audit, when you're creating a sub audit, it will also will always appear as sub audit. So I'll just click as submit. And if you see, the sub audit configuration has been done and the parent audit is tagged as no. This indicates that it is not a parent audit. So this is a sub audit which actually has to get added to a parent audit, where all the configurable items are being configured when we are creating an audit type. Now let us see how we create a parent audit. So let me do a test audit creation. I choose again a branch. And here I am choosing parent audit. So here when you choose a parent audit, you can directly choose general group and create the parent audit. Or if you would want to put combination of sub audits, and once you have created the sub audits, you click on the sub audit, choose whichever sub audit you would want to map. And if you see, all the checkpoints under that would appear. But in case you are doing a parent audit with only general group, in that case, you choose a general group. The same said like how we created the sub audit, you can just choose whichever checkpoint group you would want, and all the relevant checkpoints with the individual score would appear on the screen. So here the other is one more feature which I would like to explain you all. You also have a search string where when you have multiple checkpoints, you would want to search for any checkpoint, you can do in the search screen. You can also keep all the checkpoints selected to the specific audit type, or you would also need to, if you want to remove any of the checkpoints, or when we have 4 checkpoints here, I would like to keep only 3 checkpoints. You can remove whichever checkpoints are not needed. So when you remove these any of the checkpoints, so only the selected which are active checkpoints will be appeared for audit execution, and the one which is not been selected will not come under for any audit execution. So like that, I can choose whichever group we need and keep map whether we need those checkpoint to be part of the audit execution or not. And you can also see there is one more section called serial number. So here whenever we create an audit type, when we select all the checkpoints, basis whatever the checkpoints are created, the similar sequence the audit would actually, while doing an audit, the sequence of checkpoints would appear. But if for any case you would want to set a sequence for any audit type, you can just mention the which are the sequence you want. For example, this will be a first one, and then the phone position is the second, and handset is the third. So this way you can set the sequence. Basis the sequence you have set, the checkpoints sequence would be set for an auditor when he's executing the audit. If you have not set any sequence, the default sequence will be carry forward. So I move next. And then we have risk scoring. So risk scoring here is, if you see, there is an always and when you're creating a checkpoint, there is a risk which has been enabled for every checkpoint, and we are also giving a checkpoint score. But when we are creating an audit type, we would like to set a weightage for all the audits which we have been selecting when we are setting the audit type. So I can set the weightages which gets multiplied with the checkpoint score. If my checkpoint is 1 and I give a weightage as 15, so it gets multiplied and the individual checkpoint score gets calculated basis the risk weightage scoring we define here. So this helps us in creating the audit score for particular audit type. So now let me just give a score. Let me give this as 2, then medium I'm giving as 4, here as 6, and 0 tolerance I would like to keep always on high. And just these give you numbers on basis the risk scoring should get calculated, and we go next. Now, there's always a pop-up which comes, would you like to manage any roles when for this audit type? What does this mean? So here what happens is, in a normal audit scenario, you would have a set of auditors who would always do only the audit execution for one specific audit type, and you have a specific set of auditees. But in certain cases, in certain use cases, what would happen is, when there is, for example, you have a interdepartment audit which is happening, or you would have a user who has multiple roles being played, and he plays a different role for a different type of an audit what he does. So in one of the audit, he would be playing a role of auditor, but in one another set of audit type, he would be playing a role of auditee. So how do a system identify that which role a user would be playing when he's executing the audit? So in that case, we have to define the role a user would play for a specific audit type. So this actually would come in place when you have a multiple role assigned to the auditor, and when you have a same set of user been working with two different roles for a different audit type. But there is always a business rule in our system that any user can have a single role played at a audit type level. For example, now I am creating a test audit. In the test audit, me as a user, an auditor, I can play only an auditor role. I cannot play a role of an auditee or maybe any correspondent role for the same audit type. So user will always be defined with single role. So here in managed role, we will define what all roles we can be, which a user would be playing for certain, for a specific audit type. Now you can have filter the users by country or by state, or you can use the whichever country you need, and you can do the filter. Now you can also filter by role as well. So if you take auditor, I have chosen an auditor role. So just taking to fetch the information because there are a lot of users here. If you see, all the audit or users who are being tagged as auditor are listed here, and we can choose which of the auditor we would need. So let me take a specific auditor when I know that he is playing a dual role. So here, if you see, Abhishek Kirve is playing auditor role. If I have the same name, I am choosing it for reviewer. He would also have a reviewer role also assigned. So in this case, when the user has multiple roles, I can define which role he would play here. So for example, for Abhishek, I am choosing that he would be playing a role of a reviewer, and when I will choose another user. So here I will choose Abhishek, not as reviewer. I will choose some other user as reviewer, and I will give Abhishek as an auditor. So I'm just defining the different user for different role. I'm choosing Abhishek as the auditor. So basis the selection you do, all the roles gets added here. If you see, I have chosen a reviewer one. I have chosen one auditor. Similarly, if I would want some other role to be played by someone else, an auditee, I have two users, so I can choose them to play as a user. Like this, when you have a multiple role, you can set the user with the role and you can define it. In case if there are no multiple role and the set of user are playing a single role itself, then we can always skip this section by choosing as cancel button and you can move ahead. So I'm moving ahead with the configuration screen. Santosh, is there any questions for us to take it up now before I explain the configure part?
Yeah. There are questions. I will take up and I'll answer them as well. So the first question is about why or when we would need to use a subaudit. So there are two specific scenarios when a subaudit needs to be used. One scenario is when we are using annexures. So it is mandatory to create a subaudit when there is an annexure. For every annexure, a subaudit needs to be created. There are times, which is the second scenario, there are times when subaudits are created even without annexures. The reason to do that is for proper classification of checkpoints. So we have a multi-level hierarchy under a specific audit type. An audit type is like a large container. Inside that, partitions are possible by way of adding subaudits, which could be your processes. Then under subaudits, there are groups, which are your sub-processes. And then under groups, there are checkpoints, which are individual control points. So when we are using annexures or when there is a need for creation of a process hierarchy within the audit in terms of the audit, process, sub-process and control point, then subaudits are used. So this is the answer to the first question. The second question is, why do we need to create audit types? Can't we manage new requirements using checkpoint groups? Now, checkpoint groups do not allow you scheduling and execution. Checkpoint groups, as I said, are only part of an audit type. Scheduling, execution, and the further workflows, all of that is decided at the audit type level. So for example, today you are doing branch audit and tomorrow you want to introduce finance head office function audit like finance or HR or admin. You need to create new audit types. For those audit types, you will have to start with creating groups and checkpoints, but creation of audit type is mandatory. Now, there are scenarios when you can create only groups and handle certain requirements. Those are scenarios where, for example, you are doing a branch audit. There are two types of branch audits. There is a, normal branch audit, or and then there is a quick audit. Now, normal branch audit, you have a lot of processes and sub processes covered, and in the quick audit, you have only 2 or 3 processes covered. Later, as part of a review or a recommendation from the external auditor, or as per direction from the board of directors or the audit committee, you decide to add one more process under either the branch audit, or from the branch audit you decide to add under the quick audit. There you can handle it by way of creating an additional group. So for example, in a branch audit, you were not considering, say, COVID related requirements before this. Now, COVID is a new scenario. Those are also scenarios to be considered now when a branch audit is conducted. So in the current scenario, to handle the additional requirement, you can create a group called COVID related checks, and add checkpoints under that, and edit the audit type and add this group there to take care of that additional requirement. So I think I have answered both the questions. There is a follow-up question on the classification. The classification, as I said, is about bringing more clarity into the audit process by way of dividing a large process into small sets which are easily executable and easily reportable. So a large branch audit, which may run for about a week, can be split into different processes like customer onboarding, sales, operations, tellers. There are different large process areas, and inside all of this, there are smaller sub-processes which can be defined. So that is what I meant by classification. Yeah, Ramya, questions so far have been answered.
Okay, let's go ahead with the configuration part. So in configuration is the page where we set all the workflow, elimination of the workflow, or what are the required details to be added to the audit type are being done in the configure page. So first item here is do you need to eliminate auditing sign-off? So as a normal process in Audit 360, once an audit has been scheduled and submitted by an auditee, by an auditor, the whatever auditor has submitted, the non-compliance or these observations which has been tagged as issue will be sent to auditee for signing of the observation, where he can either accept or reject those issue. And once he sign off, it will be sent back to the reviewer for finalization of the audit. So in any of the configuration of audit type or any of the audit which we are executing, where the sign-off process is not mandatory, or client is not willing for any sign-off to be given, where directly they would want the auditees to start working on the issue, in those cases, they can eliminate auditee sign-off. If we eliminate auditee sign-off, once the auditor has completed his audit, the issues or the observations will not go to auditee for signing off. It will be just directly, once it is finalized, it will be sent for resolution. So he can click on eliminate auditee sign off if required. Then we have, should capturing image be mandatory for a main audit? So currently we have the digital evidence to be captured at a checkpoint level, or if it in case of express mode, at a sample level or the what a group level, we can take the digital evidence, which is completely optional. But for any of the audit basis, the requirement of the audit, if we feel that digital evidence is mandatory and it has to be made compulsory for an auditor to capture the evidence, we can enable this configuration. So if you enable this configuration, once an auditor is executing the audit, if he has not taken any single digital evidence, then the system would give a pop-up during submission of the audit stating that digital evidence here is mandatory. So he's been asked to take the evidences here. So if you have not chosen this option, then the current feature of having the digital evidence seen on every checkpoint in normal mode or in the group level for express mode will continue, and it will be an optional field over there. Next is, do you need to eliminate auditee respondent workflow? We have two workflows. If you could see, there is auditee respondent workflow and auditee reviewer workflow. So in certain cases, we only have very straightforward users, which is super admin, reviewer or auditor, and then auditee. But in certain of the cases, what happens is, with an auditee, we would also have few more roles which would be playing from auditee side, where the auditee can have a supervisor who will be tagged as auditee reviewer role, and auditee can also have one level below users who will help them to respond to the issue, who are the key process owners who work on those issues and help them to resolve or respond the issues. So in those cases, we also have a respondent workflow being built. So where the issues can be sent to the respondent and respondent can respond to the issue, and an auditee or auditee reviewer can verify the response what been shared by the respondent and then send the resolution to the audit team. So if in case we have those users, we can have the workflow which is already there, where the respondent and the auditee reviewer are a default role, which are part of Audit 360. If in case we do not have that, only an auditee user would will do only the resolution and will take care of everything, then we can eliminate these two workflow here. Then we also have an option called, do you need to do a bulk finalize audit? So in usually as a normal audit workflow, any audit which has been executed by the auditor gets reviewed by their supervisor, where they would, for example, a customer audit, or you're doing an audit which is at a for the supervisor to review each and every audit which has been executed
There
by
is
the.
some problem with your uh,
Is it
voice.
better now?
It is now, it is. Last 10-15 seconds, whatever you said, you may want to repeat.
Okay, I'll talk about the finalized audit, bulk finalized audit again. So in current audit 360 workflow or any audit workflow, any audits which are executed by the auditor would be reviewed by his supervisor, his or her supervisor, and to see if there is any modification required and finalize the report. But where in some cases where audits are done in bulk, where with the volume of the audits being executed are very high, in those cases a reviewer reviewing those each and every audits executed would be very difficult. In those cases, we can enable bulk audits. How a bulk audit would work is, when you enable a bulk audit finalization, all the audits under the review audit, which is on the accepted status, the user can, reviewer can do a multi-select and click on bulk audit finalization. When the moment the bulk finalization is been clicked, all the selected audits which are been on the accepted execution status gets bulk finalized, where if there are any specific audits schedule which you would want to go do a in-person review, review each and every checkpoint, or you would want to do a sample review over there, that is also possible. But this bulk finalize will help you to do a multi-selection of the audits which have been executed and one click to finalize the thing. But if you have not enabled the bulk finalization, all the audit which are been executed and accepted by the auditee has to be reviewed and finalized by the reviewer or the super admin. Next configurable item is, do you need mandatory remarks from auditor? So currently we already have a remarks section. For every checkpoint there will be an auditor remarks and a confidential remarks also available. But if in case all those remarks are optional, but if in case if you would want to mandate the auditor remarks to be mentioned mandatorily at every checkpoint level, then the user can enable, do you need to mandatorily make the remarks mandatory when auditor is executing the audit. But when we are enabling this configuration, the express or a lightning mode of execution will not be appeared because we are setting the mandatory remarks. It will always take you to only to the normal way of execution, where checkpoint after checkpoint the audits can be the detailed audit can be executed. Then we have a next configurable item is, do you want to allocate issue at a schedule level? So what does an allocate issue does? So and once an audit has been executed by an auditor, all the observations ideally has to be resolved by the auditee. So now when we have a respondent, one who uses below auditee, where an auditee would like to allocate those issues for his respondent user to resolve or respond the issues there. So here we have two options when we can do a one-time allocation, where as a process, you do one group level allocation to the respective respondent user. Then as and when the audits are executed, the issue will directly get flowed to the respective respondent user. But when we have enabled the allocate issue at a schedule level, here what would happen is as and when every schedule of audits are being executed, every time on the schedule wise, the auditee can allocate the issue. So when I have a set of users below me where they would respond to the issue, I can choose which respondent user will work on which of the issue, and I can choose that on every schedule or when every audit has been submitted, this allocation can be done. So this we don't prefer to have, but when you would want to have a very distributed way of allocating the issues to the respondent and work, we can choose this option. Otherwise, a one-time allocation, when you do the allocation to the respondent, the auto flow of issue would always be happening, and there will be not much uh, efforts involved in doing this every time. But if you would want to go for a every audit level, then you have to enable, you would want to allocate the issue at a schedule level. Then next configure item we have is, do you wish to add additional information to the checkpoint? This is a premium feature. So when you have this premium feature purchased, you will have this option on your configure screen. This I've already covered in premium feature, but I will just brief you how this additional feature, premium feature would work. When you enable additional parameters, so every checkpoints you would want to add here, if any parameters you would want to add at a checkpoint level, you can choose the parameters and add it into the specific audit type. Next is select verifier. So what does a verifier role is? Verifier is a user, or a verifier is a role which has been given to the roles like admin, auditor, or reviewer, who would have an access to look at the review the resolved issue and take a call whether the considering the issue as closed or it has to be reopened. So basis the verifier you choose here. For example, when I choose an admin, so as and when the auditee team resolves the issue, when the issues are being sent back to audit team for verification, all this where issues will be verified by the admin, and admin will have a rights to take a decision whether the issues will be considered as closed or it has to be reopened. So similarly, if you have chosen auditor, if you would have a practice where, or because auditor is doing the audit and you give a chance for an auditor only to take a call whether the issues, whatever the responses we have got is satisfactory or if it is not to be reopened, we can choose auditor. And then similarly with reviewer, this is for the verifier who can verify the responses or the resolution received by the auditee and decide whether it needs to be closed or reopened. Then we have tag type. So what is tag type? So as and when the audits are being scheduled and executed, every observation or the non-compliance or issue which we observe should always have a TAT for an auditee to resolve those issues. So an auditee should resolve all the issue and also set the TAT for that. So we have three types of setting up the TAT: proposed by auditee. Proposed by auditee, when you choose proposed by an auditee will give his preferred time to give a due date, where he tells on every checkpoint, he says on what date he would like to set the the due date for the issue closure. So you give an open calendar for an auditee to set the due date. So if in case you have chosen eliminate auditee sign off, where we are not doing the sign off, in those case the proposed by auditee option would not come, because the due date selection is given only to the during the sign off process. So when you have chosen eliminate auditee sign off, proposed by auditee will not appear. So now then we have based on audit submission. So based on audit submission is when you choose and based on audit submission, here we are telling the system to calculate the due days basis the risk assigned to the checkpoint. So when I have an issue identified at a, high or a zero tolerance level, what should be the due dates? What should be the TAT given for the auditee to resolve the issue? So I can set with for due low risk, I will tell 45 days. Medium, I'm giving 30 days. For high, we give 20, and all zero tolerance should be closed in 10 days. So basis the number of days we give here. Once as and when the audit gets submitted by an auditor, these due days gets calculated basis the risk map to the checkpoint, and the due dates are auto-populated and sent. Similarly, like audit submission, if an audit based on audit finalization is taken, so same configuration will be enabled, but the due date gets calculated once the audit schedule has been finalized. Moment a reviewer finalizes the audit, from then the due date calculation would happen. So there are three types of that, and basis the configuration we set here. For every audit we schedule and the issue we identify, the due dates get computed and updated against each and every issue we identify. Then we have reminders and the preferences module. So reminders, as said in previous webinars and all the configuration we set the multiple level or hierarchy level reminder, what we have configured in reminder module can be chosen and updated in the respective audit type. Similarly, for the preferences, or whatever is been configured can be added to the audit type. So whatever the email preference, the reminder we have attached to the audit type, then the basis the reminder or the preferences, the notification or follow-up emails, the reminders are sent to the respective audit type basis the issues, open and overdue issues, or every action we do, it will all be purely based on the configuration we have attached here. So then we move next. Next is the last leg of the configure audit, where the total score and rating can be chosen. So the total score is computed basis the risk multiplier and the risk weightage we have given and the checkpoint score. So basis that the total score would be defined. There are two type of score which we can go with, and basis that the rating can be defined. Either we go with a percentage base, which will tell you about compliance based percentage wise we can choose, or we can go with the actual score also. And we basis that you can set the rating. So when you choose a percentage, so basis whatever the observations we have and the actual score being achieved, the percentage will be applied and the outcome will be displayed when the audit, once the audit has been submitted. If you take with the actual, with the achieved score versus the total score what we have got, the outcome would be displayed. So let me just take for the demonstration the percentage by slab. I'm choosing this as 25% as C. I'm adding one more level where I say that 25 to 60 as B and 60 to 100 as A. So this way, whatever the outcome or the reference I can give, it can be a past where fail, or it can be satisfactory, it can be silver, platinum, whatever is the outcome we have been standardly being used can be here. It's open text, and basis the slab we choose here, the outcome would be mentioned in the audit type. So once this is done, you can just click on submit, your audit type gets configured. So you see the test audit, which is a parent audit, has been configured, and you can review all the configuration we have done. Now, if you have any modification, once you have a save button, you can do a modification. I would like to change this to, for example, a slight modification. I do this for 65. You can make the modification and say similarly any configuration can run. But once the audit is being scheduled and execution has started, you will not be able to edit until unless with the business rule that the current cycle of audits has to be completed. Until then, until then the edit will not be possible. And there is one more feature, if you could see here, there is an activated button. This activated button will say, specify that the audit type is active. If in future, when you feel that, okay, this audit is no more being used and you don't want to use this in future, and you just want to keep this an idle, and you can just deactivate by just clicking the deactivate button here, just with the toggle button, all these relevant schedules or the relevant observations over there will be hidden, and it will not be listed in any of the screen. Once it is activated, all the audit type will be listed for schedule further workflows here. So this is on the configure audit. Santosh, is there any questions you would like to address here?
A couple of questions. One question was about the bulk finalization. Why is it that this feature is there? And when there is bulk finalization, why would someone like to use normal finalization? So I've already answered to the one who had asked the question, but this is for the benefit of others. So the idea here is for every audit, there is a review process. And that's a review of audit is a mandatory process in Audit 360. No audit can be finalized without a review. So now, having said that, there are certain audits where the review, an elaborate review is not required. At times, review itself is not required. So for that, those kind of audits, to make the work happen faster, is what we have kept bulk review feature. So once bulk review is enabled, all the audits which are up for finalization can be selected at once. 10 or 20 or 30 audits can be selected at once and can be finalized. But in this, what happens is there is actually no review that is happening. So the maker checker process that is required is diluted. That is one. The second question is about allocation of issues at a schedule level. Allocation of issues at schedule level, this is an auditee side process. The allocation that is referred here is the allocation that an auditee user does to the respondent. So if we take, for example, if we take the case of a branch audit, a branch manager would ideally be the auditee, and he would have people reporting to him configured as the auditee respondents. Now, issue allocation to these people can be done once in the lifetime of an audit. This is for ease of what you call the process at the auditee's end. When there is clarity in the process, that is, in large enough organization, there are enough people. So there is required clarity at the end of the branch manager as to who is going to handle what. This can be, the original approach can be adopted, wherein the issues are allocated once the first time the audit is happening, and going further, based on the allocation done, the group that is allocated to a certain role, it continues the same approach. It continues taking the same route every time the audit is executed on that auditee. Now, having said that, in some cases, this may not work. Every time an audit is executed, the branch manager may want to retain the ability to allocate it to a different user. In such cases, schedule level allocation is enabled. So once schedule level allocation is enabled, after every execution of the auditee user is expected to allocate issues to the respondent. Yeah. Ramey, these were the two questions.
Okay, Santosh. So I hope there are no more questions on the configure audit, but we can even discuss if any in the later at the end of the session. So I move to the next topic, which is review audit. Review audit is a module where, as the name suggests, where all the audit which has been executed by an auditor can be verified by their supervisor. This review audit can be accessible for both the super admin as well as on the reviewer role. With these modules will be accessible, and they can review the audits. As process of review audit, it's similar like a maker checker concept, where both the whatever the checker does, he can even review, the user can even edit, and it is they can do the modification as and when required on certain field, and they can finalize the audit schedule. So let me just demonstrate what all feature we have in review audit. So I'll come back to Audit 360 application. In review audit, I come to the review audit module. So on the landing page of review audit, we have multiple search options given. You can search by an audit type. If you have multiple audit types, you can choose by a country or by an auditee. You can even choose by the auditor. So I can choose the auditor. You can even choose by the execution statuses. So execution statuses, there are multiple execution status. I can explain you what are those execution status. Very brief on is once the audit is being scheduled, and if it is not been started, it will be in a not started stage. Any audit which has been scheduled and an auditor has started his audit will be an in progress. And then once the audit is submitted, you will have submitted status, and an auditee has signed off the audit observation, then it will be an accepted stage. And when the reviewer is reviewing, it will be an in review status. And then the finalized, once the finalization has been done, it will be a finalized state. So we have few more statuses, which I'll just explain you as and when we move ahead. Then you can even search by start or end if you would want to have a date range in which you would want to do a selection. That way also we can see. So for now, I'm just considering the accepted, where I can do a in review. Once I give a go, the results would appear. So I'll just go inside this. So all the whatever the results we have will be listed in the below table. It will have a schedule ID. So every schedule we do a schedule for an auditor to execute the audit will have a auto generated schedule ID, and the audit has an audit type name. So based on the configure audit, whatever audit type we have created, the respective audit type name would be there. An auditee will also be appearing here. Here it's because it's our care subdomain. We are seeing a COVID, but the respective branch or whatever auditee you have will be listed to the respective schedule. Then you have auditor name, from what is the schedule start and end date, and the status here. To have a more detailed review, you can go inside And this audit is actually a parent audit which has been configured with the general group. So it will take you, the UI would be here, where the first it will have a summary. Summary will have all the schedule level information similar to what we saw in the first page. And it will also have the what is the auditee review period. If there is a review period being selected, if the review period also would be shown here. Basis the audit we have executed, what is the score, achieved score versus the total score. Then the rating for the audit which we have executed. Was there any reviewer remarks? What is the percentage of compliance which we saw? And when you have done the audit on mobile, the audit submitted location with the map would be appeared, and the audit submitted timestamp will also be part of this summary. And below table will have a checkpoint level information, which will also give you an indicator if the any of the checkpoint has a digital evidence. And if you see the sign which has under the digital signature as an attached signature, this says that there is a digital evidence captured for the specific checkpoint. And if there are an issue which has been identified, we'll have a is issue with the icon indicating that this particular checkpoint is an issue. So if you would want to go inside and review at a complete checkpoint level, you can click on the respective checkpoint detail. There will be a pop-up screen which would be there, and it is a scrollable screen. All the information of the checkpoint can be viewed here. So as a reviewer, as I told, it is a maker checker activity. As a reviewer, I have, when I'm reviewing the audit type, I would want to see what my auditor has been mentioned, and if I should also be able to edit. So let us see how we can edit this. So now in, for example, what are the keys which parameters and a reviewer can edit is the compliance, the respective disposition, and the remarks, if any, can be modified by the reviewer, because these are other parameters or set parameters where we will not be able to edit here. So now when I've observed that this audit has been executed by the auditor and is given a compliance as yes, I can change this to no. And if there are any dispositions, I can choose a disposition for this. I can do the modification, and I feel that okay, that the remarks needs to be modified. Yes, it's available. I am changing the remarks because the compliance has been changed. Available. So because the supervisor reviews and he has a final call to make the changes, these changes will be allowed here. And these are only field which he can modify. And if there are any evidences he would want to review, he can just click on the evidences which has been there. So I think there is some problem with the image, which is because of old audit. So he can click on the digital evidences and he can review the digital evidences, what has been checked, and he can click on update if once the changes are being made. Now, next to update, you could also see there is a re-audit button. What does a re-audit mean? So now I have my auditor who has gone to the field or respective audit place. He has done the audit. He has completed his audit. But when I was reviewing it, I found that a specific set of checkpoints are not audited completely. So in this case, I am not very clear whether this audit was being done thoroughly and what are the information I have got from auditor. I'm not able to take a decision, but I felt that this is a very important checkpoint, but needs to be revisited. So we are giving an option for a reviewer to choose if any of the checkpoints needs to be re-audited. In that case, he clicks on re-audit, and he will also mention the reason why he wants to get this re-audited done. So I will mention that observations not clear, or any whatever is the reason why you're getting it re-audit. You choose the checkpoint which needs to be re-audited. So if you see, once it has been re-audited, it turns in blue. I can complete my review. If I have only single checkpoint, I can go ahead and schedule the re-audit. If I would want to add few more checkpoints for re-audit, I can do all my review, add the checkpoints which needs to be re-audited. And I can click on re-audit. So once your review is done and you have chosen all your checkpoints which needs to be re-audited, and then you can schedule the audit for the auditor. You can have a same auditor. If you have any other auditor of the same cluster being mapped, you can choose if you would want to send some other auditor to do the re-audit or the same auditor. You can choose in the auditor section. You can also mention the comment why you would want him to do a re-audit. Observations, and you can even set the schedule when the audits needs to be done. I choose for the 17th of September, and I will ask him to re-audit the checkpoints. So whenever I click on re-audit checkpoints, choosing the specific checkpoints for re-audit, when the audit has been scheduled to an auditor, only those checkpoints which are tagged as the re-audit will be shown to the auditor for him to execute the audit, and he will not get the complete checklist. So only these two audits will, your checkpoints, he will be able to execute and send back to the reviewer for execution. So if you see, I have chosen Santosh. And I have the audit status would get changed to I will just increase the number of entries here. So those audit will be sent for re-audit. And there are multiple execution status also can be seen. All the execution status will be verified in this screen. So this is on the review audit module. I would like to show how one issue rejection can be handled as well. Let me just come to a different. So in the process of audit acceptance, we would have, we are allowing the user, we are allowing the auditee user to accept or reject the issue. So whenever we have a rejection of issue, the person who's reviewing the audit has the final call to decide whether issue needs to be retained or dropped. So I'll just show you how this handling reject issue can be done. In the review audit model, I'm just choosing an audit where I can show you the handle reject issue. So I have a in review. So I have a GRT August when I go inside this particular audit type. So there are observations when under that we have something called handle issue here. This button will only appear when there are any issues which has been rejected by the auditee during the sign off process. So if you to handle those cases, you just click here. It will take us to the list of rejection which has been made by the auditee. We can just review what are the observations is being given. The remarks we can identify. Issue is incorrect, and he is also given the evidence. I can go through the evidence and take a call whether we would need to accept or reject the issue. When I click here, if you come down, you get two options as retain and drop issue. So here the user, the reviewer can take a call if basis the observation and the evidences shared. They choose whether to retain this issue, telling that no, this issue would suffice and we retain it. Or if we are satisfied with the evidences shared and we know that, okay, these are not an issue, we can even drop the issue. So you can choose retain issue or drop an issue. Here I'm giving a due date because it's proposed by auditee. Like retain the issue here. And if when basis the next one and you feel that okay, it is a need to can be dropped, you just click on drop the issue and give a remarks. Just if you see the status would change, I can go back to the review audit and do a further finalization activity either by finalizing the audit or continue reviewing my audits here. So this is on the review audit module. So any queries or any questions on review audit module?
We don't have any questions so far.
So that's it for on today's webinar on configure audit and review audit. I have tried covering all the features and functionalities we have in these two modules. So would request you all to share your, if there are any questions or comments here so that we can handle the questions. We can answer all your questions.
Ramya, I think we should wait for a minute or so to
Sure.
see if there are any questions coming up. So there is one question, Ramya, if you can take up the answer. The review audit, whether it will be conducted by the reviewer or by head of audit.
Currently, review audit module is accessible by both the reviewer or the super admin role, which is head of audit. Both have the same option. So in case of reviewer, basis the cluster mapping, the respective supervisor who's playing a role of reviewer will get only those audits for him to review and finalize the audit. Super admin, because he has multiple clusters, all the functionality will be, but both the roles are eligible for reviewing the audit. Is there any more questions, Santosh?
One moment. So there's something in the chat. Okay, that I have answered. So for those who have not been able to join this webinar in time, you may please note that as a practice, we will share the entire recording of this webinar. This will be uploaded in our YouTube channel. So even if you miss the email, you don't need to worry. You can find all webinar recordings in our YouTube channel, audit, YouTube/audit 360. Oh, another question, only the non-compliance will be under review audit. The answer is no. Both the compliance, non-compliance will be, unlike the auditee sign-off, both compliance and non-compliance will get addressed under review audit. The entire audit, all the control points or checkpoints will go to review audit. Ramya, can you please share our YouTube channel link in Ramya or Nilesh, one of you? Can you please share the YouTube channel link in the chat?
Yes.
I think that's all of the questions for now. So once we have shared the YouTube channel link in chat, I think we can bring this webinar to close. Yeah, the recording will definitely be shared. I think there's a question, so we'll be sharing it. It takes a bit of time for the recording to, be trimmed and uploaded in the YouTube channel. So maybe in next 2 to 3 days, you can expect the recording to be shared with you. I think there's one more question. Just a moment. No, fine. All are answered. Okay, so I think it's time to end this webinar. Thank you everyone for making it possible to join this. At the end of the day, these webinars are for all of you. So the more is the attendance from your side, the more the enthusiasm from our side as well. So really appreciate you joining us. As I said in the beginning, please take some time and do share your feedback so that we can improve these sessions as we move on. Thank you, everyone. Thanks a lot.
Thank you all.